Hello again, everybody. Thank you for keeping up with this at this Mile High Horror Film Festival. We are going through many of the movies that we saw, not all of them, but quite a few. We are going to talk about a movie that only I ended up seeing. Al was in a different movie at the time. I can't remember what.
I was actually watching the Body movie. You had seen it at Stanley, so you went and watched Even Lambs Have Teeth.
Yeah.
While I was watching Body.
And this is one that I kind of went into blind. I couldn't find a trailer for it at the time. In the description, it basically said that it was going to be a revenge movie. That's not entirely Al's bag. I occasionally really like revenge movies, and we've had a lot of talks about that at this festival. But basically, the movie starts out. You've got two girls. They're getting ready to go to work on a farm for a month so that they can take a really cool vacation in New York City and have some fun with that. It's like some organic farm thing, and the girl's uncle takes them to a place where they're going to get dropped off and picked up to go to work, and he gives them some very specific codes. He's an FBI guy. He wants them to check in every day. He seems a little bit paranoid. It's kind of like the beginning of Taken, where he seems overbearing, but ultimately he's right in the end. And these two girls are at the diner. They meet two guys, and they're a little bit boy crazy. I felt like the writing wasn't perfectly strong for this. Maybe more girls are as aggressive as these girls are, but hey, whatever. Like,
not to us.
Yeah. Not to this, But anyway, in the movie, they meet these two guys. The two guys end up taking them, and in one of the darker scenes of the movie, they go past the farm, and it's kind of like that scene from what's the Grindhouse one that Tarantino did with the car?
Oh, Death Proof.
Death Proof, where it's like, you're going to have to start getting scared a lot sooner type situation, because they go past the farm. They know something's wrong. They start holding hands. They get into the house and things start looking okay because the mom comes out. They give them pie. Things start feeling all right. And
it's one of those.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, they start realizing that they're drugged. And the beginning of the movie actually starts
Watch
out
for
everybody.
Pumpkin spice, folks.
Yeah, pumpkin spice will be the end of you.
He didn't say pumpkin pie.
I think it was actually apple pie. But anyway, they pass out, and the next scene shows them. They wake up in these two storage containers out in the middle of nowhere. Like, the storage containers have a bed, and basically the two brothers are allowing people to come pay money to basically use them. And use them over and over and over. Probably the most sinister scene is whenever a preacher comes over in a pig mask. And it's just one of the more twisted scenes. Like, you don't even see him actually doing that. It's more the introduction and him picking, and then, like, the sounds that come from that. There's a guy that's a little bit not all mentally there, and the girls can kind of influence him. Like, whenever he goes in there and he has his way with the girls, he keeps saying, like, I thought you loved me and all this other stuff, and he's getting, like, a little overly, like, into it. And he's set on watch there because they hear that the uncle is looking around town trying to find these girls. The girls just completely exploit him, and basically using, I'm trying to remember, I think it was basically the handcuffs that they were in. Like, they end up strangling and murdering this guy.
Oh, handcuff strangulations are the best / worst.
Yeah.
Like, did they do the blood thing like they do in No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
Or like it cuts into his skin and breaks the vein? Because that's
actually
brutal.
She bites him first to get the blood going. Like, she's all seducing him and everything, gets on his lap. Like, she gets nude and she's on top of him, and then just goes for the jugular. That's how it starts. I just remember that now. And this is like 20 minutes.
This is somewhat unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not a realistic movie. It's I don't doubt that if you were really, really motivated and you had an opening, you could sever somebody's jugular in that way. But, like, this was the timid girl. The other girl seemed like the one that would do this, but, like, just in the situation where they know that they're going to be disposed of. And that's actually what they're told is, like, your uncle screwed this up for you. We need to take care of a few things, then we're going to bury you in the woods. And so they basically know they have to do something. They kill the guy, and as they're leaving, they steal a cop car because one of the sheriffs is the one that was coming to kill them. He shows up, he's looking for him, they're out, they just run to his car.
So you've got the situation where they can't go to anybody.
Yeah, they can't go to anybody.
Because all the law is on this as well.
Yeah, and the FBI guy, like her uncle, he's in the police station, he's asking questions, and they get a phone call out, and he hears her ringtone. And that's how he knows that the entire town is messed up. And it's kind of cool with all that, but at this point it turns into like kind of an exploitation flick, because the girls are walking around. One of them is literally just in like black lace panties the rest of the movie. Like, I mean, I'm fine with it. It's kind of awesome, but it's also like,
how dare these people tie women up and rape them? Oh, by the way, do you want to look at how sexy they are?
Yeah.
Hey,
and like they don't seem to have like any lasting psychological effects as far as like being in pain or anything. They're just kind of out for blood. The thing that makes them decide to go back, because they could have escaped scot-free, is they see two girls that kind of look like them on the side of the highway, like hitchhiking, and they know that this cycle is going to continue unless they do something. So they just go to a hardware store, they do the montage.
And where did they get the money? Did they steal it from the
they stole all the money from like that guy. And like 3 times in this movie they're like, here's 100, like, let me live, I've got $100,000. The murders that happen after this are definitely like revenge style. The first one, they take like a bunch of rusty railroad spikes and wrap it in barbed wire and shove it up a guy's ass.
So this is not about like subtle like character commentary.
No.
This is just
this is grindhouse.
I was gonna say like a grindhouse style, sexy ladies getting revenge on the evil men who did bad things to them.
Yeah.
But not the evil men in the audience who would probably also like to do those things. But like, with consent, obviously.
It's also interesting because like right after that I stayed a little bit for a quick Q&A, because all the actresses and actors that were in this movie, like pretty much everybody was at the festival. And I talked about this at the Stanley. It's always a little bit weird whenever you've seen like somebody new doing horrible things, or like the guy on stage, he's like, we were just one of the misunderstood brothers, the innocent ones, and all this. And it was just kind of funny to see. But it's like the Q&A was fun. Like, this is a movie that I could see, if it gets to Netflix and gets a little bit of distribution, that it could have a pretty good run, because it's kind of like it's over stylized violence, and it's definitely an exploitation flick. I don't know if the average person is going to like it. I think whenever I walked out, I wanted to give it like a 3.5. I might have given it a 4. I might have given it a 3. It's not excellent. It's probably more of a 3 now that I like talk about it. But it was kind of exciting and fun in the moment to watch.
Sometimes some of those movies that aren't necessarily made with the most depth can find a life outside of like... So sometimes people can appreciate that and just be like, all right, well, I know that it's... it's something that isn't really all that great, but I accept it for what it is and just enjoy the schlockiness of it. Is it the kind of thing that if you're that type of movie fan, you could get into?
I definitely think so. Like, everything we saw at this festival was actually shot to a pretty proficient level. So this movie was definitely not something that was bad to look at. The dialogue is probably the weakest point, just because like you can tell it was written by a guy who thinks he knows Valley Girls.
One of those situations.
Yeah, one of those situations where the girls are just like, they're kind of man-eater style, and I don't know. It's a little bit crazy, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. You could just stop with, you can tell it was written by a guy.
Yeah.
And
if it was written by a woman, like, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to offend, but that's just what it felt like. And look it up. Yeah, it's more of a movie for guys. And that's fine. I don't think Al would have had as much fun with this movie as I would have, but I think you would have enjoyed it more than a lot of revenge flicks, because it didn't take itself so seriously.
Okay. I'm looking it up to see who directed it. Director Terry Mills.
I think he also wrote it, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh. Anyway, if you enjoy
it's not a big pro-feminism type.
Well, like the girls do get get to have the fun with it and everything, but it still feels exploitation. I mean, when they walk into the hardware store, it's like this heavy backlit shot that starts like mid-thighs for her, so you get like camel toe shot as you go like up, and they're covered in blood post being raped for like days and days, but she's got this like smarmy grin on her face. So it's like one of those types of things.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely not psychologically traumatized by this at all.
Yeah, only whenever they were there were they psychologically traumatized. As soon as they started getting their revenge, they were just fine.
Because everybody knows revenge makes it better.
Well, they actually say at the end of the movie, like, you turned us into monsters. This is what you deserve for what you've turned us into.
I'm glad I skipped this one, Tony.
Yeah. I don't think it would have like psychologically troubled you.
That's true. And
But-
I will say one of the things that I'm really figuring out, especially in retrospect now, is that there was a really good variety of the types of films that Mile High had. You know, there was a lot these things that you could think about. Some of them were more actiony, some of them were more funny. You know, the thrillers like we saw in Night Fair. So
I
this
actually only saw one that could be considered like truly creepy.
we're going to talk about that next in the next video. So stay tuned for that, guys. That was all we had to say about Even Lambs Have Teeth. Sorry, I didn't see it. I didn't have much to say, but we'll stick around for the next thing, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.